I was out at my bridge club. I'm always out at my bridge club on Thursday nights.
Even on Thanksgiving?
The detective sounds dubious. If you'd seen as many holidays turn nasty as I have, the house wants to tell him, you'd be surprised everyone isn't ducking them. Shocking waste, Thanksgiving. I provide a turkey lunch from my boarders, but that isn't enough for some people. Mrs. Nilsson sniffs, eyeing her son, who still hovers with the water glass. This one won't lift a finger for his mother in the kitchen, but the moment that woman says she's making a whole turkey in my Stratoliner oven. Briarwood House doesn't like Mrs. Nilsson. Hasn't liked her since she first crossed the threshold as a bride, complaining before she'd even shaken the rice out of her hair that the halls were too narrow. My halls, too narrow. And still doesn't like her 20 years down the road. No one else in this kitchen does either, the house knows perfectly well. People aren't that hard to read.
The body was found in the 4th floor apartment, the one with green walls.
The detective is looking down at his notes, so he misses his first clue. The tense glances that pass shadow fast among the other 16 witnesses. Or would suspects be a better word? The house wonders. Because it knows something the detective doesn't. The killer is still very much in this room.
Can you tell us who rents that top-floor apartment, Mrs. Nilsson?
The detective persists, oblivious. The landlady gives another sniff, and the house settles in happily to listen. Mrs. Grace March. 4.5 years earlier. June, 1950. Chapter 1. Pete. Dear Kitty, does the name Briarwood House sound auspicious? We shall see. I wish you were here. Grace. June's sunshine poured over the street. The sounds of a jazz saxophone drifted over from next door. Somewhere on Capitol Hill, Senator McCarthy was waving lists of card-carrying American commies, and a new guest had come to the Briarwood boarding house. Her shadow fell across Pete where he knelt on the front stoop, banging a nail into the flapping screen door. And he looked up to register a tall woman with a red beret over a tumble of golden brown hair. "Hello there," she said in a soft Midwestern drawl, nodding at the sign in the window. "I see you have rooms to rent?" Pete scrambled upright, dropping his hammer. He thought he was being so alert, watching the street over his toolbox, eagle-eyed for any signs of a rumpus. Not that the square ever had much in the way of rumpus, but you never knew. What if some dirty, no-good louse from the warring gang shot up the Amber Club just off the square, making off with a bag of the long green? If that went down and the feds came sniffing, the word on the street would point to the shadowy figure across the way. You want the long and short, you talk to the shamoos at Briarwood House. Nothing gets past Pistol Pete. And then Pete would rise, flicking his cigarette and straightening his battered trilby. But instead a woman had walked right up to him while he was tacking down a screen, and he'd nearly dropped his hammer on her ribbon-laced espadrille. "Mickey Spillane," she said, nodding at the paperback copy of I, the Jury he'd set aside on the front stoop after his mother swooped in with a reminder about the screen door. "Your favorite?" Yes, ma'am. I'm Pete," he added hastily. "Pete Nilsson." Her wide mouth quirked, and she stooped to pick up his hammer. "Then maybe you could tell me how a lady can get a room here, Hammer and Pete." Just like that, Pete fell in love. He'd been falling in love an awful lot since turning 13, sometimes with the girls in his class at Gompers Junior High, mostly with Nora Walsh up in 4A with her soft Irish vowels, occasionally with Arlene Hupp and her bouncy ponytail in 3C. But this dame in the red beret was something special. She was maybe 35 or something, old enough to have an interesting past, with a worn suitcase swinging from one hand and a camel coat belted around the kind of figure Detective Mike Hammer, Pete's hero, would have described as a mile of Pennsylvania highway. And she'd called him Hammer and Pete. He junked Pistol Pete on the spot, wishing he could cock his trilby back on his head and drawl, "Let me show you the joint, ma'am." But unfortunately, he wasn't wearing a trilby, just an old senator's cap. And from inside the house, his mother's voice snapped, "Pete, who are you?"